Buying a smartphone is fairly simple if you know your priority. If you're someone who understands basic tech specs on camera, battery, processor, you can pretty much buy your desired smartphone. But buying them in 2022 still feels complicated, right? So in this video, we're looking at 5 tricks that smartphone brands use to fool you or even confuse you. And in most cases, you can't do anything about them, but what you can do is remember these tactics. And if you want a 6th reason to know about these tricks and devices, follow our work on Fiverr and Fiverr Hindi. This is Abhik. Let's get started. So let's start with introductory prices. You see, when smartphone brands are launching their new devices, they like to talk about a lot of things. One of them is how great their new devices are, which is fine and obvious. And when it comes to mentioning the prices, what they do is they highlight the introductory prices that are available for a limited time period. Now, all you need to remember is that brands like Amazon, Flipkart, they have sale season almost every month. You can also get some offer or the other to bring the prices down. Or even better, you can download Chrome extension like Price Tracker to see when the smartphones are selling at their lowest prices. Or you can follow my work in India Today Tech. Okay, now let's get to the next problem. Now, have you ever noticed that a smartphone launches, then the sale date is announced, and when it finally goes on sale, the phone is out of stock? And this is more pertinent when the smartphones are getting an introductory pricing. Now see, there's no particular brand to mention here, and we keep seeing this time to time. Very rarely, brands also like to sell their smartphones on an invite basis. But what this whole cycle, this whole problem creates is that smartphones are not available in the market, and until you wait for them to come back, these are available with the original pricing, which is obviously much higher than the introductory prices. But that's not it. So another extension to this out of stock problem is that sometimes smartphone brands, they sell the top spec variant of their smartphone while the lower spec variant, which is more affordable, is not available. So in that case, whose loss it is? Do I need to even tell you? So what I'll suggest in this situation is that if you're not looking for a smartphone desperately, wait for a month or two once that lower spec variant is available. In that way, you will make a much better decision to go for a variant which is more suitable for you. But this is not it, there is a much bigger problem. Yes, rebranding. You see, smartphone brands love doing this. And I'll give you a classic example. You'll see some Poco and Redmi phones share the same specifications, right? Okay, forget these two brands. There's OnePlus 10R and Realme GT Neo 3. Now, these smartphones are identical in terms of specification, but one is more expensive than the other. And this is where the confusion begins. So how does it end up helping the brand? Say for instance, you do not prefer buying a Vivo smartphone, but you have no problem buying an iQOO phone. So when this rebranding happens, you are actually ended up buying a Vivo smartphone in the guise of an iQOO phone. Who's at loss? Us. Who's winning? It's the brands that finally play this tactic of rebranding and how it plays into their advantage. Now, the last problem is not so common, but we have seen some brands doing it from time to time. Say for instance, iPhones. Now, iPhones are great, right? But if you look at its specifications, you'll sometimes notice that there's no details on the RAM configuration, there's no details on the refresh rate, and there's no details on the battery capacity. Forget iPhone. If you see some Android smartphones, they also have started skipping details on the RAM tech, storage type, and even processor, like in the case of Samsung. And what some other brands have also started doing is that they skip details on the second and the third camera sensor simply because it's not on power with the main camera. So there you go. These are 5 tricks that smartphone brands use to mislead you, confuse you, sometimes fool you. But the only way forward is that not to panic, think rationally, and spend wisely. Or you can just watch Fiverr and stay updated. This is Abhik signing off.